take a look at a quote here. More children are punished for mimicking their parents than ever for disobeying them. For those of us who are parents, this is startling and scary to think about. And yet for me, it's a powerful reminder that we are often unaware of the influence that we too have on others. Okay, as a boss, might I have influence over the hours that my employees keep? Consider that in some ways, these are very, very subtle influences. We may not even recognize that we're exerting that influence. We know that as bosses, we influence the way work gets done. And so recognizing that this social power is real can be very helpful for us. Let's talk about this first strategy, pave the way. This suggests that we should be the first to behave in new ways. If we want people's behavior to change, if I'm looking to change a whole organizational culture, I should begin to model some of those behaviors. We know that if one person voices concerns or suggests a different path, it can often have a profound effect on others' behaviors. Recently, I've been doing some work with a major hospital who has been plagued by some patient safety problems over the past couple of years, and they've had a lot of media exposure that they're really doing a lot of work to overcome. I'm so excited to see all of the strides they've made. They've invested so heavily in building crucial skills among their clinical staff members. And I've been very involved in working with their leaders to implement a training program so that we can empower their clinical staff to be able to speak up when they recognize problems unfolding around them. If a nurse sees a doctor failing to wash his hands, we know that there can be tremendous medical consequences from that. So if a nurse learns to speak up and hold that doctor accountable in that moment, even despite a power differential in a situation where most people find it very uncomfortable and difficult to raise concerns, we're going to be able to see that organizational culture move in a very positive direction. So I've been working with this organization, and lately we spent 4 days together. I was rolling out new crucial skills for the leaders in this organization to then be able to take to their clinical staff. And at the conclusion of 4 days together, we spent an afternoon identifying a plan for how to develop an implementation plan for this training program. We talked for 4 hours, and at the end of our conversation, the leader of the meeting suggested a very aggressive timeline by when we anticipated the training would be completed, and then asked the group if anyone had any concerns or reactions to that suggestion. There was no reaction in the room, so we all assumed everybody felt really good about that, and we began to move forward. We spent the next couple of hours plotting out our plan and making commitments and moving forward to documenting this official plan. Now, at that moment, something interesting happened. A lone hand from the back of the room was raised, and a very brave soul named Cynthia began to speak up, and she said, "I have to tell you, I'm concerned about this schedule. I think that it's too aggressive. And my fear is that the quality of the training is going to suffer." She said, my even bigger concern is that we have so many other initiatives that we're responsible for, and something's going to fall through the cracks, and we're not going to feel good about what we're trying to accomplish as a team. Even worse than that, I'm worried that it's going to have such an effect on our ability to relate to each other and feel engaged that team morale is going to suffer. And my fear is that we're moving too quickly when we set this deadline. A hush fell over the room. This is a bit of a shift in our conversation, you can see. But then a miraculous thing started to happen. Hands began to pop up all across the room. And Cynthia's colleagues began to chime in and say, "You know what, I have some concerns too." The whole conversation shifted in a very different direction at that point. And we began to have a very productive conversation about what this plan looked like. And as it turned out, we decided that we would make some agreements to revisit the timeline, that we would agree to come back in a couple of weeks and make adjustments as necessary depending on how things were going. This was a remarkable shift in the conversation. What surprised me even more, though, was at the very end of the meeting, Cynthia approached me complaining. She said, "You know what really makes me crazy?" She said, "Everyone in that meeting for 2 hours was nudging each other and rolling their eyes, and they were grumbling under their breath and complaining, but nobody would speak up." Well, surprise, surprise, that's why we're here, right? We're talking about crucial skills for speaking up. I'm not surprised that we're struggling with that. And yet her decision to raise her hand and speak up propelled the entire room in a different direction. We're trying to change behaviors. You want to see progress, be the first one. It has a remarkable impact on groups.